and today the beauty of business is going to be talking about the PR machine and branding and rebranding. I feel like I can speak to this in a fairly informed way. I have worked for 3 different PR companies here in the LA area. To be clear, as the receptionist and the assistant office manager. But if I was not in the room where it happened, I was in the room next door to where it happened, and I was ordering their catering. But I was very lucky to have people I worked with who would share with me the information that they were getting as far as the customer research, and some of the different things that they were using to plan some of their PR projects. This is a huge business. The amount of money that it takes to both land a major brand to be their PR firm and to keep that PR wheel turning is a massive amount of money. It's pretty staggering. But for those brands, it's worthwhile because when it hits, it really hits. It can make a business in one moment. And we're going to talk about some of that today. The 2 companies that I want to be focusing on as we're going through this are Clarins and Fashion Fair, because I think they both have really interesting things to look at from a PR perspective and to kind of highlight things that are going on right now. PR is super important because I think if we just look at drug companies, we can find out why PR is super important for a company. Working in clinical research, I'm always amazed at the amount of people who don't know the type of medications that they're on. It's kind of scary. But we're talking about asthma, and you're asking them for different, things that they're on. They don't know the drug name, the generic name, but they do know the brand name. But it also, in some cases, they only know I'm using the blue and yellow one for an inhaler. I'm like, do I know what the blue and yellow one is? I know what the little blue pill is because of advertising. But I also think it's funny because if you'll notice the advertising for different drugs, a lot of times anymore it does not, the advertising doesn't even necessarily tell you what the drug is for. But they make sure to give you the name, and it's a catchy name. And there was even the advertising, ask for it by name, ask your doctor for this drug by name. So you have all sorts of names of drugs, like Skyrizi. I don't think that I'm the intended market demographic for loving a name like Skyrizi, but I do think Tremfyant is a great name for advertising. So if it tells you anything, it's a huge market to be able to make people recognize brands just by visuals and also by name. And if you're into makeup, you can tell all the different brands sometimes just by the packaging. If an influencer puts up a picture but it's in black and white, so it's trying to trick you into not knowing what it is, you see the silhouette of and you're like, oh, that's this brand, because they have very recognizable packaging that just by silhouette you can recognize it. So brands do a lot to try and make sure that you know the name, that you are familiar with the shape, size, color of all of their products, and it's worth all of the money that they put into it to get you to be able to recognize those things and feel comfort. And once you feel comfortable with something, you're more likely to buy it. The things that I find interesting are that notion of brand loyalty, and also for makeup, one of the interesting bits of research that they had was that as far as information fatigue or feeling overwhelmed, that if you were launching colors in a line, you should have 6 options. It was the sweet spot. If you had too many limited options, people felt like they were just, they were just too confined. If they had 6, it was like, oh, I've got nice, ways I can go with this. But anything over 6, people were tending to not buy anything because they felt overwhelmed, had too much decision fatigue, and just couldn't do it. So people were less likely to buy anything the more colors that you gave them for like a lip product. So 6 was the sweet spot. So I find that really interesting when I'm watching brands, do their advertising and also their product launches. How many colors are we getting? How are they putting it out so it feels both luxurious and you've got lots of choice, but not too overwhelming in your choice so you're not going to buy anything. So with PR, public relations, you're looking at that idea of luck meets preparation. You want to have done all your prep work and then you just hope for a lucky break. And in this case, if you want to know why, like on YouTube, there's a lot of small channels that will occasionally get PR out of the blue, and pretty good PR. It's because either they know someone in real life, or there's someone that's been watching their channel that's decided that they represent a demographic of watchers that they want to start targeting. They want to provide information to that target market. And then the other thing is just luck. They are rolling the dice and saying, we're going to put out this money for our PR money, and we're going to send it to small creators with the notion that either somebody is going to watch that, or a whole bunch of people are suddenly going to be watching that creator and they're going to hit big, and so we're going to go with them. Or that creator is going to feel special about receiving that PR, and when they get big, they're going to favor us and make sure that they always show our products because of how we met, in the early days before they were famous. And you can watch a lot of creators that are that way, that talk about the first brand that sent them PR is an important memory to them, and they're likely to always be a loyal brand, either that they're going to show the brand or they're going to buy the brand. So with PR, it's luck meets prep, and so they're kind of planting seeds for the future with some of the small creators that they're giving PR to. Now I want to talk about the idea of that luck meeting prep with Clarins. Now Clarins right now is pretty much focused on their skincare. They did have a color line, they still have color pieces that you can get, but they're mostly doubling down on all of their skincare. That's what they're known for. The brand was started in 1954. It's a French brand. And you can see now, if you watch advertising, they are the two products that are really getting a lot of ad time is the double serum that they have, and they're marketing it. The latest advertisement is a woman and her husband. They're in the bathroom, and she's kind of quizzing him down on the ingredient of turmeric, like, why is that awesome, sort of thing. But that is opening up the idea both of this is the serum and it works and it has these ingredients that we care about, but also that idea of here we are in the bathroom, women have their products out, and maybe the man is right there, and maybe, what if they happen to use it? So it's just kind of this way of bringing in the male gaze and this acceptability that, it's a skincare product. Maybe if you care about skincare and you're a male, you can just happen to use this. And their packaging is not overly feminine. And also it is kind of planting that seed of men's skincare, which some of the other brands have gone into. Clinique has a men's skincare line, things like that. But if you happen to live with someone else, that oftentimes that person somehow comes in and tries it, and maybe they end up using it, or they use certain products from the line. And so Clarins is planting that seed of this is skincare, that everybody has skin, this is skincare, maybe it's fine for whoever uses it. And then the other one that they're really pushing is one of their eye products. And it was part of the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale. So that was the pushing the brand, getting people to be able to try it at a lower price point, fall in love with it, and then rebuy it. But for Clarins, the biggest one, the biggest luck meets preparation, was the 2014 Oscars. And if you remember, Ellen DeGeneres was hosting, and she'd gotten Pharrell's hat, and she was going around collecting money to order pizza. And Lupita Nyong'o was in the audience, and she didn't have any money in her little pocketbook, but she pulled out a lip product to put in the hat because that's what she had. But everybody was immediately enthralled with what was the lip product, and it was a Clarins. It was their Hydro Quench Moisture Replenishing Lip Balm, and that sold out almost immediately all across the country and the world because of the happenstance that she happened to have that in her bag, and she happened to throw it in the hat, as it were, and it got national attention. Millions of viewers were watching, and suddenly everybody needed that lip product. So for me, that's the Clarins doing gift bags for actors and actresses, and then the product's nice, the person's wearing it, and then everybody knows about it. And the Oscars is a great sort of place for fashion always, because the people will always ask, what are you wearing? And that's a place where designers, gift certain items of clothing to actors and actresses so they can have that free advertising, because that's if it's seen on TV, people love it, it's a hit, you're bound to get some traction off that. But anyway, I thought it was interesting about that lip product that just got such a stir from the Oscars, and just because she happened to have that in her bag. So that's the idea of PR, that luck meeting prep. They've done their due diligence about sampling it out to influencers or actors, actresses, things like that, with the hope that somebody's trying it and loving it and talking about it, or at least people who are watching going, what's she wearing? And in this case, Lupita's lovely lip balm made a splash hit for Clarins, which in some ways kind of revitalized them. Now you can also look at the fact that they've started redoing their packaging. Their older packaging had the kind of the red and white, but it was plasticky and looked a little older. And now all of the new products have more sheen to them. They have more color differentiation by line. And they also started a new line for younger people called My Clarins, which I think was brilliant, because a lot of the skincare products, older women were being targeted. The idea of, here's a skincare product for loss of firmness, here's fine lines and wrinkles, or for your heavier wrinkling, and that was kind of the target audience. But Clarins was also trying to figure out, how can we stay relevant to a young audience? How can we market to them? And how can we get people who are going to be brand loyal, so when they finish their younger skincare, they're going to be going into the Clarins, adult line. And this is something that's super important, because it develops that brand loyalty, and the brand loyalty through the ages as your skin changes. And so I think the My Clarins line is pretty brilliant. Different packaging, different skin concerns, but it's very definitely like, we want to have you be a Clarins customer for life. And I think that actually is going to help them survive and thrive into a new era. They do need to start thinking about their color cosmetics line again, but I can tell what they're really doubling down on is that we are a skincare brand. I looked on the website for the Clarins US. You can see a seasonal line, some of the lip products, some of the mascara, but for the most part, they've just gone to skincare, some brow products. But I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this, but I think that My Clarins line, that idea of you're going to be a Clarins customer for life, is really great. I also saw this, I'm just going to mention briefly, the No. 7 line has launched a skincare line specifically for women going through menopause, with these specific skincare concerns of menopause. And I thought that was brilliant, because I know there's a lot of people who are struggling with, as their hormones change, their skin changes and all that. But now there's a specifically marketed line for menopause for No. 7. So anyway, there's that. The next thing I want to talk about is Fashion Fair. Now, I first learned about Fashion Fair because I worked in high-end retail, and we had a Fashion Fair counter. And at some points in time, I would go over and help people with that counter, and I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that people were very specific when they wanted a Fashion Fair item, and that it was very friendly to women of color. We had a lot of deeper toned foundations. And as I got to know that company better, what I found was that there was a lot of brand loyalty because it was one of the few lines in our store that regularly made colors for women of color. So when I was looking at this, it was really interesting for me that Fashion Fair has started rebranding, repackaging, and re-promoting. And a lot of people are going, oh, Fashion Fair, what is this new brand? And it's not a new brand, it's been out since 1973. But it reminds me of Wayne's World, where Bohemian Rhapsody got really big because of Wayne's World, and you had all these young people at the time going, oh, there's this new band called Queen, and I'm like, yeah, there is. But everybody was so excited about Queen after Bohemian Rhapsody got big and with Wayne's World, and I felt old, but I was also very excited that, Queen was having a comeback. So I felt a little bit that way with Fashion Fair, with everything that was happening. But I'm going to link an article from Vogue actually about the history of Fashion Fair because it's pretty interesting. The owners of the magazine company, and this is the Johnson Publishing Company, had this like twice year event. And they were based out of Chicago. This was like Ebony and Jet, were their big magazines. But they would bring in all of the fashions from Paris, and they would do a traveling by bus twice a year where people could see, and people of color could see the amazing Paris fashions and have access to them, where they didn't really have entree into that world otherwise. And so one of the things that came of that, they'd have models and stuff that would travel on the bus, but the models would have a hard time finding cosmetics that would work for them on the darker skin tone. And Fashion Fair ended up, and that's why it has that name, from this traveling fashion show, and the models having a problem finding appropriate color cosmetics that would fit their skin type and color. And so Fashion Fair was around for a long time. But I know when I was working there, sometimes there would be a supply chain problem. Like, you couldn't get some of the colors, and it didn't refresh as quickly for things. And so it was a little bit frustrating. But I had a lot of customers who, they were very brand loyal because they knew they could get what they needed. Now, fast forward, you've got companies like Fenty coming out with tons of shades for things that really brought back into focus how important it is to serve demographics of people with different skin tones than white. So in 2016, Fashion Fair had filed for bankruptcy. And so that idea is that it hadn't progressed enough, and it was trying to compete now with other Black-owned brands. But they were purchased by some of the alumni from the previous incarnation of Fashion Fair. And what we're seeing now is that really back into the luxury Black-owned brand, and that they are getting all new, modern, beautiful packaging, really exciting, enticing colors, and they're being marketed to a wide audience, because in the end, we want to very much serve all of the African American needs for color, complexion, and make sure that color cosmetics work, will show up on different skin tones. But also we want to make sure that everybody's talking about Fashion Fair, not just African American creators or content people on the internet, but everybody, so everybody gets to know about this fabulous brand. But it is still a brand that is really inclusive, and the packaging is great. I feel like they've done a great job of really marketing for a beautiful new launch into the world, relaunch in this case. So definitely take a read through the Vogue article. I think that you'll find it just really fascinating from a historical perspective, but also this idea of it's important to get the PR out so everybody can be aware of this new product, this relaunch, and that people that it's been serving since 1973 can also know that this product that they have had brand loyalty to has new life, and so new young customers again, people that will buy this product when they're younger, know it, love it, will then become brand loyal for life. So you'll have new influx of Fashion Fair customers from all different skin tones who are going to really love these products. Because I feel like because they are in the enlightened self-interest category, because they're making color cosmetics that will show up on deeper skin, you can know that they have some very pigmented products. So I'm looking forward to diving into Fashion Fair myself, and to just enjoy that notion that something that's been really serving a community has gotten a rebirth and a widening, and that these color cosmetics, these foundations that have been so necessary in that interim step between making sure that people of color are fitted with good quality luxury cosmetics. I'm glad to seeing them having this comeback, this reemergence, if you will. So I feel like this is in the end, I feel like it's a success story, seeing this sort of circle of life coming for both of these brands, things that had really been quality companies that had this kind of growing pains along the way, but that we're seeing this resurgence. And I feel like this is really important for the companies and getting those PR messages out. And this is why I think it's the beauty of business, because I feel like in both of these cases, these brands have things that are really lovely that we want to keep around. Clarins focus on different plant extracts and quality skincare. I've come to love. When I was working for Chanel, I ended up getting to know the Clarins line very closely. And so to me, that ability to get to know a line was super important, to be able to say, I feel like I have a brand loyalty to them. Because while I was working with Chanel and loving the color cosmetics and doing things with them, the Clarins skincare line, there were certain things that even, I could use the Chanel part of it, but like Clarins had a body line that I really came to love and to know. So for both of these brands, the Clarins and the Fashion Fair, I'm super excited to see their rebirth, and that notion that PR is now doing its best to get the word out so that these can be successful in their latest adventure. So anyway, I'd love to talk more about the PR side of things. I know that I did a video before about items I bought and kept for other reasons. And I think sometimes the PR and the advertising are exactly why I'm drawn into something. Now, do I fall in love with it once I have it in my hands? That's the question. But sometimes I fall in love with the marketing, and sometimes I can see that marketing can be used for good and not evil. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions or thoughts, leave them down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.